Okay, so this is my sort of update video on my Amiga A600 HD. So I've taken the lid off because over time I realised that the floppy drive just is very unreliable. It just, for some reason, it's not properly working. I get lots of read errors. So I bought one of these Gotek drives, which is super light. It's a USB drive and it's selectable, so it can read from a USB. But when you put it in the normal way, it actually gets quite obscured. So what I've done, rather than plugging and unplugging a USB, I've got one of these short USB adapters, so basically I can leave the USB stick hanging out of it and still have access to it. But I want to just make sure this is secured in, so I'm going to have a look. So this is the old drive. I think everything's in the same, all the screw holes seem to be in the same, yeah, looking at it, if I can turn that over without unplugging it, the screw holes seem to be pretty much in the same places, albeit smaller threads, so I might have to use different screws for that, but this will come off, this retaining, and I think actually that will probably be enough. This is just a bit of steel which would hold it in place at the right angle, and I think I might, rather than use screws there, I've got some double-sided sort of spongy tape which would hold that in place. So I think I'm going to do that. Let's try that. The existing screws are definitely too big, so I need some smaller screws. Right, I'm going to go with these two. They're not matching screws, but they're close enough. There you go, that's nice and secure. So you can see underneath where the IDE cable goes and the power cable. These Gotek drives, if you end up getting one, they just end up going in exactly how the floppy drive goes in. So I'm going to get something to stick that in place. So I bought this Gotek drive back in June. I wanted to look up what software it said it had on it, but unfortunately the listing has been taken off now, so I can't tell what it is. Right, so let's get it screwed in. So that's up there. Will the lid go on? Okay, so with that screwed in, that's at quite a funny angle. I kind of want it to be a bit further out, although it would probably hold its place. So it's these little three clasps here that are causing the issue. And I don't know whether to be fair, that's not going to go anywhere. Yeah, that doesn't right, so that doesn't want to go in when it's screwed in place on that. I kind of need it to be, this to be further along. Yeah, I think that would go in if it was that far over. So what's that, a couple of millimeters? So the bracket needs to move forward to push the drive back. So let's, and this is just plastic in here. So I think I could probably just screw into it. Okay, so I'm going to have to resort to a Dremel because that just wasn't going well. That was taking ages. So let's try. One. Two quite nice holes. Right, okay, so yeah, that's much better. So let's plug in the IDE cable. And the power cable. And then, so I'm looking at, it's going to be there. So I'm looking at my sticky pads going kind of all along here and all along here. And these are ones that I've had, well, I've worked in electrical sales for years, and these were old alarm pads, and these must be crikey, I must have had these for 10 years because the store I was working for closed a long time ago. So that's basically, and I used these, I've got another video, crikey, ages ago, of my iPod. I've got an iPod dock on my car dashboard, and I used these on a car dashboard in my Vauxhall Astra, and it's the same pads that I've had since whenever I did the video, and it's been, you know, through summers and winters, and it's never come off, and I've just secured it with these, and obviously I put my iPod on there and I dock it and I take it off and it still works fine. Alright, so how should we do one more? Because I have got loads of these pads. I don't think I need to go more than that. I'm worried about, because I will be selling this on eBay, I'm worried about when I post it, I just don't want it to move around. So let's have a look. See, that on its own, without the screw, feels nicely seated. But obviously I'm going to screw it in. I think that was the one that came out. Yeah, that feels like, you know, as secure as the floppy would. So you can see, while I've got this open, I'm going to close it up. So you can see that it's got a hard drive in there. I can't remember what size it is now. Something like 20 megabyte, I think, is the hard drive. And as you can see, it looks all pretty decent inside. There's a little tiny bit of rust down here. This has got a bit of rust on it. On the back, all the terminals look reasonable. And I had, I started this ages ago, got it out the loft and figured I was, gonna get it up and running. And all my mice were faulty, and I'll show a picture of how many mice I've got. I ordered a mouse adapter off eBay. I've been working on this for ages, and I just keep putting it back in the box and getting out when I get new bits. So when was it? So the Gotek drive, so that was back in June, but before that I would have ordered, yeah, so I had a PCM PCIe adapter. Which is this one, and I had a compact flash card, but it didn't work, so I ordered this one off CEX. So this came from eBay, Retrobench it says. So the only reason I couldn't get that to work is because this is running a too older version of Workbench, and you need it to be a certain version. But I couldn't get a newer version of Workbench on here because the floppy drive didn't work, and there was all sorts of different software that you need to install on this to be able to get it to work. And I tried serial port adapters. I've got a parallel port adapter, a serial port somewhere, and I couldn't get any of them to work. I also had an issue with the mouse as well, which, let's have a look, try and see when I ordered that. It must be later. I ordered an adapter to use a standard PC, like a PS2 mouse. I'll show the connection on screen, and that didn't work, the first one I got. So I'm there thinking, oh, maybe the terminals aren't working. Yeah, I had an Amiga Jerry mouse adapter, and that didn't work with all the mice that I had. Turns out you need a specific type of mouse. It's a USB to PS2 type mouse, which I've now got. I ordered, I've got a different adapter now which does work, and that works with the mouse that I've got. I also ordered I've had 2 Mega Drive controllers which haven't worked, but I've ordered a very cheap one off eBay, and that one works fine. I've now got an MK4 USB mouse adapter, that works fine, and the Amiga joypad that I ordered works fine as well. So I'm finally up and running. Even with this Gotek drive, the drivers that I had and was trying to use weren't the right ones, and I'll put a link in the description as to which drivers you need to use with this particular Gotek drive. Anyway, let's get it all put back together again. So, plug in the power cable for the keyboard, plug in this little ribbon cable. Yeah, so that fits nicely. So let's get, you can see now from that, I've got the USB in here and I've got the display there. It's not ideal, and there's the two buttons which I use a matchstick for to change between the floppy disk which is in there. You'll see more when it's up and running. Right, let's get the screws in and let's see if everything's still working alright. Okay, so that feels all in place. That feels like it's working. It's not gonna, the lid's not gonna come off or anything. So let's go and plug it in. So there's a few bits that I've ordered to get this Amiga working, because when I first got it out the loft, the joypad wasn't working. It was, what was it? It was movement. I think the button was working, but the movement wasn't working. It was kind of just making a little jitter. So I've had two Mega Drive joypads, which both had faults, and I've taken those back. And I ordered this one off eBay super cheap. I think it was about £2 something. And it feels super cheap. It's certainly not Sega, but it works. I mean, obviously there's only one joypad button on an Amiga, and the controller works, and it basically proves that my socket is all right on my Amiga. I also ordered one of these, which is an extension for this sort of joypad. Luckily, because this is super short, it's one of the shortest joypads I've ever come across. So anyway, that is a joypad adapter for there, so I can plug that in. But I also ordered, I see Amiga mice are super expensive, and so this mouse I think I got for about £4 or £5, and it's brand new, old stock, and it's one of the USB mice that comes with the PS2 adapter, and that's the type that you need to be able to use with this, which is a little Amiga adapter, which goes into the joypad, and it means you can use an ordinary USB mouse. But as I say, it has to be a PS2 USB mouse, otherwise it's not going to work. I had loads and loads of mice, none of them worked, and I had several mice with this type of connection, and none of those worked as well. Some of the old Amiga ones have obviously just failed over time. And then I've got my USB stick for my Gotek drive, which has got the games on it, so I can play from that. So let's get it all plugged in. Or let's see how much everything was. So this was £2.12, the little joypad, and I think it's the cheapest Amiga compatible joypad that I could find, and it works fine. It's not great quality, but it works fine if you just want to test it. Then I've got, so this mouse adapter cost me $13.99, but I thought it was a safer bet to have that and a PC mouse, because these are going to be more easy to get hold of. Although that said, they weren't that easy to get hold of, but more easy to get hold of than the Amiga one, because there would just be more of these about. And this was £2.12. Okay, so this is the USB stick I'm using for flash floppy on the Gotek. And as you can see here, there's two files which are in the root of the USB stick. So autoboot.hfe and hxcsdfe.config. So basically those two need to be in the root, and then you can do what you want with these. These are just folders, and you can arrange games you want. So I've got a working folder which I've gone through and seen things that work fine, so you can place them as you want, or you can put them in the same here, but I think in a folder is easier, and you'll see what they look like on the Amiga. Okay, so we've got the relevant files on the USB stick, and I've plugged it into my extension cable, which is then plugged into the Gotek drive. There's a couple of buttons which you can't really see on the camera here, but they're on the right hand side of the USB cable. So if I switch on, you'll see that it comes up with 000. That's important on the drive. If it doesn't come up with 000, you need to use the up and down buttons to select it, and then it will boot this menu. Okay, so you can see how it looks now, slightly different now that it's in an Amiga, but all the files and everything are the same, and you can see that these are folders here with the sort of diamonds next to it. So if I click on D to L, so I'm using the joypad now to do this, and then I pick a game. So let's go for Lemmings, which is a 2-disc game. So click on that and click on slot 1, click on that and click on slot 2. So now when I go back to the top, it's going to show me what's ready and loaded in the USB stick. So we've got Lemmings in slot 1 and 2, we've got Stunt Car Racer, and we've got Micro Machines. So if I want to start it just like that, so if I basically go to the top, click on selection, click save and reboot, and I'll move the camera to show you what happens when I click save and reboot. So you can see it's on zeros at the moment, so if I press the joypad button, it now switches to 1, so it's now reading floppy disk 1, and this will load the game. So you can see the loading light on the Amiga. This loads at exactly the same speed as a floppy drive would. It emulates a floppy drive perfectly. Okay, so now it's asking for disc 2. So there's a button just to the right of there's 2 buttons, one here and one here. So let's click that, and you can see that that switched to 2 now. Now I need to click the mouse button. I'll just pop that back in the tripod. There you go, so now click the mouse button. So now the machine is loading up disc 2. And there you go, so the game is loaded and you can go in. Oh, but you can't go in on that because I haven't got any access codes. Oh, let's just randomly do something. Incorrect code. Surprise, surprise. So, I don't know what fun is. Oh, there's like difficult taxing. So as you can see, I can just start the game and now it's playing from the Gotek drive. Okay, I hope this helps, and thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I don't know why it's so quiet. You can probably just about hear that. So there is sound. I actually thought, the one thing I thought about this Amiga was that the sound wasn't working anymore. It's weird that it'd be so quiet. Right, I don't know how to start. Oh, there you go. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's working alright. Nice yellow on a yellow. Oh! Okay, well that's going really well. Oh, I see. When you press down on the joypad, it literally drops it all the way. Okay, so we know that works. Nowhere decent for that. Oh, I suppose that's alright. Okay, you probably don't want to watch loads of Tetris though, because that's kind of not what the Amiga's famous for. So let's switch to something else. Yeah, it's working. I think it's still loading when it's doing that. Oh yeah, that looks good. So how's this going to work with just one... How's Golden Axe going to work with just one button? Again, there's sound there, but it's super quiet. So you can hear the sound. My TV is up at flat out volume, so there's obviously something wrong with that. Oh, what happened there? So how do I jump? Because I've only got one mouse button, one joypad button, so I can run and I can kick, but normally you'd have jump as an option. So how have they done away with that? Oh. Oh, that was a jump. So it looks like you pressed up twice. So just while it's loading up, I'll show you that the mouse sits smooth with this USB adapter. It is much more controllable than I remember my old Amiga mice being. Okay, so... Alright, I thought this was going to be Bomb Jack. I suppose it kind of is. Oh. It's not like, I don't know if the button does anything at all. You know, like on Bomb Jack, you can control your height. Yeah, the button doesn't seem to do anything at all. So it's just like up on the joypad to jump, and then you can move around within your jump. Oh. It's like the sound's trying to be louder, but it's struggling. Let's go out of the way. Whoa! That green thing's fast, isn't it? This is quite difficult. Considering it's first level, this is what games used to be like. They didn't ease you in. They were like properly, this is going to be difficult right from the start. I wonder if they... Whoa! There we go, and save and reboot. Some of these games require you to press the mouse button, but then I think it's loading because yeah, it's coming up with a loading light in it. Press a mouse button to start a game. Please insert Commodore Amiga Power Drift Disc B. Ah, right. So here's a 2-disc game. So this is where this works. This is where the matchstick comes into play. And we find button 2. So now it says 2 on the little LED display. I'll probably press return to tell it I've put a disc in. I'll press space, it says on the screen. You can see from the loading light. You can't really see the loading light there. Move this away a little bit. There you go. Whoa. Okay, it doesn't like joypad on this. I'm sure I selected joypad. Oh, we've got mouse control. That's not going to go well, is it? Gosh, this isn't the game that I thought it was. This is actually mouse controlled. Okay, doesn't really show the Amiga in its best light, does it? Right, so let's switch it back to 0. Switch it off. Switch it on again. Maybe it was Powered Drive was the one that I'm sure used to be really good on the Amiga. So if you can hear like a slight buzzing noise, that's my amplifier turned up quite loud because the audio isn't working properly. Right, let's just show that the mouse is working. It's a really fluid mouse control with this adapter. So you can see system, because it's a hard disk machine, this is all running from the hard disk. And you can see it runs pretty well. It doesn't struggle. I tried to put stuff in here to get it to work with the compact flash adapter, but there was no joy with that. But yeah, as you can see, if I open up the games folder, you can see Gravity Power's in there, but I can't play it because I'm on my own and I've only got one joypad anyway. It's like part of the audio's missing, isn't it? Because there would be bass and all sorts here. I think maybe the music should be on the left speaker. So now disc 2, so I have to get up, get my matchstick, find the second one and click. And does it auto, it looks like it auto detected, yeah it did, it auto detected that disc 2 was inserted. Now it's doing something funny. Player to mouse.